The Grand Slam track money situation is way worse than they ever wanted us to find out. And although I've shared my thoughts on this story before, considering it's taken on a life of its own, I decided that you deserve to know what's really going on out there. And full disclosure, to be real with you, this is one of those videos that it's not that I didn't have a plan on making it. I tried to avoid making this video for as long as I thought I possibly could. But now, I guess it's time to have the hard conversations. So, I'm going to rip the band-aid off and we're just going to get into it because I'm going to try to focus on what I call the facts. Not the speculation. I'm going to try to focus on the facts, the way that I understand them, and then what I think it all means. Because I'm not going to just stay there. I got to go somewhere with this thing. So let's ride. Michael Johnson went on Front Office Sports and he did an interview. Like this just dropped this week. And when he did that interview, they asked him the hard questions about the league. Because in case you're wondering, like if you need a recap, Grand Slam Track launched their pro track league this year. They were supposed to do 4 meets. And before they got to the 4th one, they canceled the final event that was scheduled for LA. That was the beginning of, all the frenzy. Like shutting down that meet, which was really going to be the biggest one on the calendar. I was looking forward to it. Many other people were. And then it moved us to a new conversation. And that one was about money because they started talking about investors and changing financial landscapes. And from that moment, like the first few weeks when it shut down till now, money has continued to stay in the conversation. At the point that we're actually at, like when he's on this interview, they asked him straight up, like, hey, what's going on with the situation? Are the athletes ever going to get paid? There's reports now about vendors who are waiting for payments. There's deadlines that have been moved, deadlines that have been pushed back. I haven't commented on everything that I've seen, but we're going to air it all out now. Some of the athletes had conversations with, World Athletics, and, they were determining whether they should get involved. And hey, this is just the stuff that actually happened. Again, I'm going to tell you what I believe it all means in a moment. So when he's on this interview and they're asking him the hard questions, most of what he's saying is things that you might have already heard. He talked about the changing financial landscape, looking for strategic partners and investors, doing the best they can to, fill a void and fill a need for the sport. But here's the thing that you really need to hear. When they ask him straight up, like, hey, what's the situation? He tells us that they had an investor, a major investor, who wasn't able to honor their commitment. So they took them and their money and they left the league. Like they're no longer affiliated. He didn't get into who it is. That's not important right now. What matters is the money ain't there. Money that they thought was going to be there isn't there now. They also asked him, is the league going to go bankrupt? Because, before they asked that, because that's a hard-hitting question, and I'll get to his answer, they started laying out, like, are the reports true? The reports about, paying athletes and the reports regarding, paying vendors and so on. And he's like, yes, like, those reports are true, and we're actively working, day by day to, solve these challenges and, plan for next year and so on. Here is where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about next year, like 2026 Grand Slam, but right now, 2026 Grand Slam can't happen until 2025 Grand Slam gets paid for. So when they ask about the team, like the league going bankrupt, he doesn't say that that's going to happen. Like, hey, they're doing the best they can. But right now, there are people who are supposed to get paid, not just the athletes, because that's been most of the discussion up until now. But beyond that, like vendors, like the Miramar, Miami location that they used, that track, which I attended, like people need to get paid for, what was brokered. And rather right now, not everybody has been paid on schedule. So they're actively looking for money. That is the primary takeaway. And he's admitting that things are, like some of the reports that you're hearing, not all, but at least some of the reports are more or less on base. There's a whole lot more that I could say, but, I'm not going to, air all of that out. But now that we have this on the board, because Michael Johnson, has now put it on record. He did it in a formal interview that the money situation is still very much so a situation. I'm going to share my thoughts. And the thoughts are going to take us a few different places, so stay with me on this because I'm going somewhere. In general, if we just talk about the athletes getting paid, in track and field, unfortunately, Justin Gatlin has talked about on the Ready, Set, Go podcast, and others have had this discussion that athletes don't generally get paid immediately. It can take months, sometimes almost up to a year, for athletes to see money from a diamond league or something else. That's not always the case, but it can be the case. So that's a concern, but it's not the biggest concern. So I think a whole lot more has been made about paying the athletes than what should have been made. The problem was, it's think of it like a 3 strikes you're out situation, where this league has now had multiple strikes against it in the court of public opinion. One is the conversation around the athletes getting paid. That's the part that most people already know about. The other is now the discussion around paying vendors. That's not good. If you're looking for a third strike, hearing that an investor got up and took their money and left, and that they're actively looking for other investors, and that's a publicly available story, that you could call that a third strike already. I mean, I could keep going, but I'm not going to do it. I'm sure, the comment section, y'all can have your own discussion about, certain other things, whether we want to talk about, broadcast deals and, ticket sales or that's not the point. But those are 3 things in the court of public opinion that just did not go the way they were supposed to. Grand Slam track set out to build a league, and at the end of the day, they were trying to fill a void. That void is real, but there's still a lot of, back and forth about whether that void is legitimate or kind of like an illusion, something that people just made up. Go out there and talk to the track and field athletes. Actually do it. The only way that you survive in this sport is as follows. First, you had better hope you're not American, because if you're not, then you might be able to get your international federation to support you. It's the reason why Jamaican athletes are hopscotching from there over to Turkey, because they're looking for somebody to support them on this, track and field journey in the quest for world championships, Olympics, and everything like that. Remember, you don't really get paid from the Olympics and the Worlds directly. You get paid from international federations, maybe, if it's set up like that. But if you are American, where a whole lot of talent happens to be, good luck out there. You had better hope that you get a medal at the Worlds or the Olympics. And even if you do, you had better be a brand. Just running fast ain't good enough. I don't have to tell you this. I've gotten this from multiple athletes, including those who have won not just silver medals, gold medals. Daniel Roberts went on record after getting Olympic silver, getting dropped by Nike. But it ain't just him. It's a lot of people who, if you don't figure out how to advance your brand and now be a track and field influencer, more or less, then you don't really have that much value, because track and field's not visible to the public eye. The reason it's not visible is because there is no legitimate league that people can watch. Now, I'm talking from the American perspective, but internationally, the Diamond League prize money is not all that viable. It never was intended to be. They have a product, and that product keeps going. And if you're a fan of the Diamond League, I'm sure it's great for you. But go talk to the athletes. You will understand just how hard it actually is for them to pay their bills from actual track and field revenue, like winnings, prize money, even just endorsement deals that come to them as a result of it. Incredibly challenging, really, the world over. It's the reason why most of the world sends their athletes to America to compete in the NCAA system, because it's just easier, where you can just ship them out and hey, the college will pay for all that stuff. Because truth be told, there's no return on investment in NCAA track and field. They just represent a fat bill. That's all it does for their athletic department, but it's supported by the structure that is the NCAA. So the teams keep spending that money. Where I really want to go with this is, if Grand Slam track was trying to build a league, and I hope it comes back, but that's definitely not going to happen unless everybody gets paid in 2025 who is supposed to get paid. Let's just get that out of the way. But leagues have challenges that they need to overcome in order to be viable. People say don't compare track and field to sports like football and basketball. Guess what? They have leagues, so I'm going to do it anyway. Let's actually look at what's going on in other sports, not just the NBA or the NFL, but on a bigger level, what did it take to actually build a league? And what are the roadblocks that you normally hit? Because as far as I can tell, Grand Slam track clearly had a model that, 2 things can be true. You can have very entertaining track, very entertaining track meets that for track fans, it's wow, this is amazing. We've never seen anything like this. And you can get attention on it, but it can also not be commercially viable in its current form. Both things can be true. Commercially viable means actual dollars and cents that make it into the league's bank account. The league didn't need to be profitable in year 1, but it did need to be on a path that pointed towards profitability one day. That is important. Again, I'm not getting into all the financials. We just know the stories that are coming out. Again, just dealing with the facts. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, and if you really want to know what's going on with the fastest athletes in the world, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. I'm going to give you 3 leagues, and I'm going to break each one of them down. The WNBA, the UFL, these All-American leagues, and whether you believe it or not, I'm going to talk about something called the basketball tournament. All of those have some very real important situations they went through and are still going through that can inform what we can expect from track and field if we're ever going to get to a legitimate track and field league. Again, I'm talking beyond what the Diamond League actually is. But hey, let's go there. The WNBA, just to be quick, it's only been around for 30 years now for one reason. NBA owners put up the money to keep that thing alive. The WNBA has essentially lost about $500 million from its inception till now. That thing has never been profitable. WNBA owners don't even own half the league anymore. They had to raise even more capital recently to keep that thing going. They make revenue, don't get me wrong, they do. And they just signed a new television deal on the heels of the Caitlin Clark, the Caitlin Clark effect, where she really elevated the platform of the WNBA stage with her presence. So everything became more profitable the moment she got there. We're talking 4 or 5 times more profitable than what it once was. So what used to be just an expense, like a tax write-off where you could just clear a loss if you were a billionaire, is now had a chance to be profitable. But that's 30 years to get to that point where they finally had the athlete, one, who could tip the scales. So they built an infrastructure, built a league, built it out, so on and so forth. They were paying people and they kept it going, but it's all because they were at a loss. That's one option of how a league can go. And track and field doesn't have anything like that. There is no track league that's viable, that's successful. Again, the Diamond League isn't really a league. It's just independent meets with a label attached. Then they have a Diamond League final that nobody really cares all that much about because the World Championship is what matters. People use the Diamond League to get the Worlds. You can get a bye to the Worlds through the Diamond League, for example. So clearly which one is more important? It's not the Diamond League, it's the Worlds. They're not separate things. They actually run together and are essentially under the same heading if you understand how World Athletics has their hands in it. I'm not here to bash it. I'm just saying these are the facts. If you compare that to now what the UFL is doing, I think Grand Slam track really needs to see what's happening with the UFL because that's a better, unfortunately, it's a better comp for their current situation. Because the UFL, if you don't know what it is, it's spring football. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson actually is the primary owner or, commissioner of the league. He bought the rights to it, if you go all the way back, where the XFL, which happened over 10 to 20 years ago, which did one season and failed, came back when he bought the rights to it and rebooted the XFL. They did that for a moment, a season or two, and then merged with another spring football league that came out called the USFL. So those two are now one league, the UFL. They've now done 2 seasons. There's only 8 teams in the league. And they've had struggled with attendance, fan attendance, viewership on TV, all the money that goes into it. And at the end of this season, in 2025, they decided that for an 8-team league, 4 of the teams that were the USFL division, the league that merged, one of them basically folded. Just being real, that's what happened. And they're now trying to move all of those teams to separate markets. Half the league essentially just said, we're out. We're not doing this anymore. I only bring up the UFL to talk about how they exactly got to this point, where teams are folding, they're just trying to stay afloat at this point. Because profitability, forget about that. They're just at survival mode as a league. They just want to exist next year. It all starts where you remember. Just like when the XFL launched 20 years ago, then when they bought the rights to that name again, and then when they merged with the UFL, the exact same thing happened every single time they rebooted. The first game, the kickoff weekend, it was a frenzy, there was interest, there was excitement. And then the TV ratings and the attendance started to go down. It didn't go up, it went down. Because it was new, it was fresh. But new and fresh, new car smell, really doesn't last that long after you drive off the lot. No shade, Just being honest. And the same thing is true about a league. That is why, by the time they get to year 2 and year 3, revenues and all the interest just continues to go down, not up. Because if you can't figure out how to not just get people there, like get their attention is one thing, but you got to hold it. Holding it is that you're going to have to create real fans. The leagues that survive, they have fans that are committed. They don't just watch one time. You don't sell the NBA product by selling tickets to people who come to one game a year. The NBA is actually getting rid of more affordable priced tickets, for example, like affordably priced tickets for like the actual state arena, and replacing it with luxury boxes. Why? Because those are more expensive and people pay for those in block. They pay for them in packages. You get season tickets for those things. They need people who come back and then come back again and spend a lot of money when they do. They'd rather have one super fan who spends a whole bunch of money than 20 people who come one time and don't. That's just how you sell the product. And considering Grand Slam track is new and travels to different cities, like the league doesn't belong to any one place. Every time a meet happened, it was just a one-off. We see it once and then we never knew if we were going to even see it back again. That was an actual discussion point. Like after the Philadelphia track meet, like, hey, are you coming back to Philly? Like, there was no certainty on whether we were ever going to see Grand Slam track show up on Franklin Field again. It was a one-time thing. It's kind of like you had to be there and it's over. Like, it's really hard to build a product, from what I can tell in sports, when there's a lack of ownership. And I'm not even just talking about like team owners. I'm talking about like the fans, like the fans feeling like something belongs to them. But I told you I was going to give you one more example. And if you're still watching this video at this moment, I know that you're most certainly a real one. Because the basketball tournament, whether you know exactly what this is or not, because it's not the NBA, it ain't even the G League, it's something else. It actually gives us some notes on how you build something sustainable. So let me tell you how that thing survived for now, what is the better part of a decade. The basketball tournament is well, it's kind of in the name. It's a basketball tournament. And they make a bracket with 32 teams. Sometimes more than that, could be 64, however many fill out for the field. And with this bracket, here's the key. The teams, essentially they kind of just, have a general manager and like somebody who organizes it, grabs the players and puts them together. It's not important how these teams get set up. They're more or less made of guys who are, play professionally overseas, but not in the NBA, former college players. They share some relationship. Maybe they played in college in the past, but they go out there to play in this tournament, single elimination. So the stakes are very clear. And if you win the tournament, the team wins a share of $1 million. Like $1 million to the whole organization or the whole team that played. And then they divvy it up based on shares of like who gets what and why. That's it. So every game is an elimination game. Every game is a game of consequence. And if you turn on the basketball tournament, which I think it's on Fox Sports right now, it used to be on ESPN some time ago, but regardless, if you actually turn it on for the, few weeks that it's running, every time you watch a game, you know what you're watching. These men are playing basketball for a chance to win $1 million. And if they lose, that's it. They will not get $1 million. If they lose, they actually get nothing. Just being real, they got television exposure. They get some highlights they can send to some other pro teams. Like, they get that. But in terms of dollars in their pocket, that's not how it works. That money gets front-loaded to make the team even function, to have uniforms and everything else. That is the basketball tournament. And when it comes to track and field right now, I've concluded that we are not at a point as a track and field community where we are ready to have nice things. That's just how I feel about it. Grand Slam track was a nice thing. It was a nice, shiny thing. And I would have loved to see it survive and to thrive, and maybe it still will. Hey, maybe it will. But as of right now, because I'm not holding my breath at the moment, we just need to focus on like building in the right direction. The basketball tournament wasn't trying to build a fully functional league that had, all the trappings that, like all the things that look like a functional league. They just said, you know what? Create stakes. Give the people a reason to come. Like, give the talent a reason to show up. And after that, roll the balls out there and let's play. In track and field, like, I look at that as the same concept of having a one-off meet with real money as the stakes. Grand Slam track brought money as the stakes. You can market it. You can, bill it up as a big event if you want to. The king of the track or the queen of the track or, like whatever you want to call it. That's not my issue. But the idea is maybe Atlos was onto something. You focus on one event. they're trying to build out and do something bigger in 2026. That may or may not work out well. Hey, my hopes are up. But with that in mind, like I said, I'm not gonna hold my breath per se, because one event, you can do one event, and even if it's not perfect, even if you lose money, even if you don't have all the kinks figured out, it's okay, because it's one event, and then we can regroup and then plan for a new year. The basketball tournament has survived for years and years and years because they don't hemorrhage funds. A lot of those players will never get paid to play on TV and compete in the basketball tournament. A small group actually will, but they all understand what they're here for. There's very real stakes, and at the end of it, if you win, you get money. So you really don't need to pay everybody, to keep it honest. If you're gonna do one event, just pay the winners. Fine, if you want to pay the podium, pay the podium. You don't even have to pay them $100,000 because nobody in track was getting that for one meet. You can pay them $75. I even think the athletes would accept $50 for one weekend of competition. Go 50, 25, and 15 for the prize money, or 50, 25, and 12 and a half. Done. First, second, third. Build out the fields. Ask people to come. We can build it up and say, hey, this is a major pro event. We can maybe get it on TV broadcast, just like the basketball tournament. Get it broadcast somewhere. Stream it out. Hey, now you have an event. I'm not saying that this is the perfect solution, but the idea that you can build something sustainable by maybe starting small and building your way up, or smaller, that's the best way to put it, because the basketball tournament isn't small, it's on national television. In America it is, but it's smaller than many of the other options. Like, yes, I don't see why you can't do that. So as of right now, the Grand Slam track money situation is far from ideal. And I think you kind of get the point that what they're going through isn't all that atypical for a sports league. But they're going through it. And let me tell you, they are really going through it. And now that this is where we are, because I hope everybody gets everything that was promised to them. All I know is that in track and field, we're going to have to build a way forward one event at a time. When I say one event, I literally mean one track event at a time. Because clearly it doesn't seem like, in my understanding, we are ready to have nice things, no matter how much Michael Johnson or his Grand Slam track league actually tries to deliver it to us. In the sport of track and field, race day is honestly the easy part, because all of the real work gets put in when nobody is watching. When you wear every day is training day gear, you can let the whole world know that your success in competition is not an accident. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below, and it always comes with free shipping. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.